Aloha, it's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing a friend of the podcast, comic book writer David Pepose. Now, David won a Ringo Award back in 2021 for the best single issue or story for the first issue of the OZ. Now, he is here today to promote the latest and actually the final chapter, of this Kickstarter, the OZ. Now, to me, this is a great continuation, reimagining story of The Wizard of Oz. Now, this Kickstarter launches on June 8th. And I'm sorry, David, I forgot to ask you, this runs about 30 days or
It'll be a
something?
30-day campaign. Yes.
Okay, so it'll probably end around July 7th or July 8th. So, thanks, David. And David, welcome back to the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Jason. So excited to talk all things the OZ with you today.
No, thank you very much, David. Just thank you. Now, just thank you for your time. Thank you for giving me another opportunity to interview you. Now, listeners, I just want to go over some of the background on David and some of his previous and current books that he's working on. Now, most of you probably don't know that he was a crime reporter. I remember we talked about, and I had to look up some of your stuff on your website. He worked at Newsarama as a reviewer and an editor. He worked as a in the public relations department at a major studio. Um, you know, his first comic was the Ringo Award nominee series Spencer and Locke. Now that is an amazing story. That was a reimagine of Calvin and Hobbes working as detectives as adults. Um, yeah, it's if you guys haven't come across that, please. That is a very good story. And David, I'm sorry. I know sometimes whenever we talk about Spencer and Locke, I know you're probably going, okay, Jason, that was done
Oh,
years ago,
no, not at all. I,
But
I, I love talking about Spencer and Locke. And for anyone who missed it, we will actually have the first issue with every backer. We'll have a PDF of it, and we'll have the trade paperback available as an add-on.
oh, that's gonna be good. So listeners, as you heard, probably one of the tier rewards is the trade paperback of Spencer and Locke. The reason why I love the idea of the reimagine of Calvin and Hobbes, but
Yeah.
David pushed the story to really I can't talk about it because I don't want to spoil what happens to Spencer, but you pushed it where it was like, wow, you really went, and you can't do it in, and I realize with some publishers they'd be like, you can't do that, David, but this one you added real life to it. I think that's the things you added what Spencer had to go through as a childhood, and what made him who he is, and why Locke is his partner, and it's just great.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm going to continue on.
Oh,
He
please.
so David also wrote Going to the Chapel. We know about his Marvel series Savage Avengers with Conan in the lineup. Now, this was before Marvel lost the license to Conan. David has written a number of miniseries for Marvel. One of them was Cable, Love and Chrome miniseries, and he also wrote another great miniseries, and I forgot, was it Mad Cave? The Devil Wears My
Yeah,
Face.
yeah. That was a really fun one.
That was great. That was very good. Now, listeners, currently he is writing Speed Racer for Mad Cave Studios and the incredible series from Dynamite Entertainment Space Ghost with Jonathan Lau on art. Jonathan Lau's art and your writing style, it matches. It's perfect. It's a perfect blend.
He's Jonathan is an amazing collaborator on that book, and I love working on Space Ghost. We sort of, taking a character that I think a lot of people overlooked and really
Yes.
kind of trying to breathe new life. Trying to do a more modern interpretation.
Yes.
It's Batman: The Long Halloween meets The Mandalorian, and I'm very thrilled with the amazing response we've gotten to that book.
There are some scenes that, and again, David, thank you for the advanced review copies. There's some
Yeah.
things that you have written, and Jonathan puts it, really on the page. There are scenes where it's like you said, it's he when you see Space Ghost in the shadows, like you said, it's like Batman. It's so cool. And there's some scenes where It's so cool because it's almost like a little riff on Superman as well too. Just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
art, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have little bits of DNA from Iron Man and Punisher and Wolverine and Green Lantern in the mix as well.
Hmm.
That's what I love about Space Ghost, and that's what I love about all of my books, really, is that it really is it's mashup culture. You know, it's trying to
Yes.
inject different strains of pop culture DNA
Mm.
into the work and kind of finding interesting combinations and interesting overlap and common threads. And so that's how I have a lot of fun with my work. And
Mm.
Space Ghost is certainly a book that's like that. And the OZ is another one.
Yes, oh yes, and we will talk about that in a few minutes. Now,
Yeah.
David, I'm going to ask, did I miss anything, or do you want to add anything
No,
like for listeners to check out?
no, I mean, you really kind of hit a lot of my highlights. But you'll be able to get. We're actually offering every single one of my trades that I've ever written as a reward,
Nice.
as add-ons on this campaign, or you can get them in bundled sets at a discount. So you
Yes.
get all my creator-owned work, Spencer and Locke and Spencer and Locke 2, and Going to the Chapel, and Scout's Honor, my post-apocalyptic book at Aftershock.
Yes.
Devil That Wears My Face, or you can get all five of my Marvel books: Savage Avengers, Moon Knight, City of the Dead,
Nice.
Punisher, Cable 11 Chrome. You can get my licensed work as well, the first two volumes of Space Ghost, the first two volumes of Speed Racer, my reboot of Captain Planet that I did
Yes,
with
that's right. Yes.
Paul. So yeah, if you are interested or curious about any of my work and you've missed out on the past, this is the perfect opportunity to get on board.
Mhm.
Because yeah, we're gonna be offering everything I've ever written. Um,
Nice.
and we're trying to make it very easy so you can get it either a la carte or you can just get everything at once at a discount.
Mhm. Oh my God. Oh, David, stop tempting me.
Open up that wallet, Jason.
All right. Now, where can listeners follow you on social media? And please
Yeah,
promote your website too.
sure. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Pepose D. It's my last name, first initial. You can also follow me at David Pepose Comics on Facebook or visit my website, davidpepose.com.
Mhm. All right. Now, listeners, before we continue, if you guys get a chance, now, David, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to listen to the interview. You did an interview with John Suntress on May 27th, John Suntress Word Balloon. Now, that's where they spoke about David's work on Space Ghost, Speed Racer, and also, the OZ Kickstarter. So listeners, after you finish listening to this, go check out John Suntress Word Balloon with David as his guest. David, also, I want to also thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because now this coming October will be my 10th anniversary for doing interviews. But, this past January was my 5th anniversary for doing long form interviews for Comics for Fun and Profit. Um, Now, listeners, I mean, I remember back in 2020, actually late 2020, I was trying to get creators and hitting up PR people from like different publishers and so forth. Nobody contacted me. I was having trouble just trying to get anybody. And then David, you saw that Drew, the host of Comics for Fun and Profit, posted his spec pick of the week on Twitter, Scouts Honor #1. And then you tweeted back saying, "Hey, thank you for thank you for the shout out." And you also put, "I'm available for interviews." So thank you very much. Now, it also continue. I gotta also say thank you very much because this is the part where I reached out to you over on Twitter on your DM, and I said, "Hey, man, let me give you some of my background. I got a little resume of who I interviewed at some of the local cons." And you're so kind enough. You're so cool. You said, don't worry. Just let's set this up. Let's just go for it already.
Well, I listen. I appreciate you taking the time. I got my start in comics journalism, and uh, it's one of those things. It as a creator, I recognize how difficult it can be to get traction on
Mhm.
something. And so, yeah, that's always really, we always love it when people take the time to talk about our work. And so, I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm glad that I consider it a nice honor to be the first. But
Yes.
you've been putting in all the hard work, and so congratulations to you on that.
No, just David again. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Now, listeners, you know, we're going to start talking about the OZ. We're going to start off with a little bit of background, but before I start that, I want to read one of the reviews from Sci-Fi, and I got this off your website. Quote, "It's an unflinching tale about the punishing consequences of war. This is this is one comic you don't want to miss." Now, I agree with that because, reading the first, I have to reread the first two issues, but I remember still reading it, is that, there were like some stunning moments where, like, one stunning moment I remember in the first issue where, Dorothy is suffering from PTSD,
Sure.
and then she meets this, Iraqi citizen who is now living in America. He was getting, he's being picked on. He was a store owner. He's being picked on some racist guys, and she stops them, and the amazing thing, the real life setting I love was that it showed that, Dorothy's not only suffering from PTSD from the war in Iraq and Iran, but also, the people, the refugees or the Iraqi or people who are coming from these war-torn areas to America, they're suffering a different fate because of the war. And that was one thing that I loved about that scene.
Thank you. I when working on something like the OZ, it is kind of you're walking a tightrope. I mean, for those who aren't familiar with the book, it's
Yes.
it's Mad Max meets the Wizard of Oz.
Hmm.
The story of Dorothy Gale's granddaughter, who's an Iraq war veteran, who is swept up in a tornado and stranded in the war-torn land of Oz.
Hmm.
And so she learns that her grandmother killing two wicked witches and exposing the Wizard of Oz and then vanishing. That didn't result in a happy ending. That was a power vacuum, not unlike Baghdad.
Hmm.
It's plunged the land of Oz into a brutal civil war.
Hmm.
So now our new Dorothy is teaming up with her grandmother's former friends, the Tin Soldier, the Prince of Lions, and Jack Pumpkinhead, in order to bring peace to the occupied zone.
Hmm.
Locals call it the OZ. And it's one of those things that, this is a book that's been in the works for a very long time. I started this thing right on the heels of Spencer and Locke.
Hmm.
So, and it's been 5 years almost since our last campaign.
Hmm.
And it's just taken a while for the art to come together. The thing's been long written. It's just been, we've been slowly Shawshanking our way through the art since the end of the last campaign. But it's one of those things when I started working on this, I recognize that there's a little bit of a tightrope that you need to walk, that
Hmm.
you want to, especially, pardon me,
Hmm.
especially if you are exploring the war genre.
Hmm.
It's one of those things that you, while you're sort of playing within kind of the iconography of all of it, you want to recognize that like this is not something that war is not something to be celebrated. It's
Yes.
something that comes at a cost. Um, and I think that's the thing that I really wanted to explore with Dorothy as a character is not only is she sort of um, struggling to reintegrate into civilian society, and
Yes. Yeah.
that's something I heard. I interviewed a lot of returning veterans, and when I was a newspaper reporter,
Hmm.
the local military beat was one of my many beats, and so hearing the stories about the challenges of civilian life versus being overseas or dealing with PTSD or traumatic brain injury.
Hmm.
Um, but also, yeah, the idea that like, that there are soldiers who, they get it from both sides.
Yes.
Where they come home and not only are they sort of struggling with the stuff that they saw overseas and sort of having to kind of like realize that they are safe here,
Hmm.
but also like yeah, like you have people who they're protesting when they come back. You have people who who were living in those countries that they were
Yes.
in, are like this thing just totally destabilized my life.
Yes.
And so I wanted to make sure that like we kind of hit this at every angle,
Hmm.
particularly before we sort of remove Dorothy from our world and sort of put her in this heightened environment in
Hmm.
the occupied zone. So I'm really glad that you said that about that scene, though, because I felt like that was something really important to establish a lot of different things about Dorothy at one moment, which is one, she's a hero.
Yes.
She did not go into the military to, to kill brown people.
Hmm.
She didn't do it as a sense of revenge. She didn't do it She did it specifically because she was like, I want to protect people.
Hmm.
I want to help the little guy. And that is a story that I've heard from a lot of people who've
Hmm.
served overseas, is that it's not, just some sort of revenge fantasy,
Hmm.
but that, people thought, they can do some good. And so the idea that like Dorothy, even when she's just kind of by herself, even when she's at her lowest, she will stand up for the little guy. That is
Yeah.
who she is. And
Hmm.
at the same time, kind of recognizing that like it's not always that black and white,
Hmm. Hmm.
that that there's always unintended consequences. There's always fallout, there's always a cost.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that's easy for Dorothy to forget, is that she's used to the cost being on her shoulders and she's willing to pay it. She's
Hmm.
paid it already. And but sometimes it's not up to her.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's, somebody else. And so yeah, that scene, I really tried to, especially with our first issue, really compress a lot of character work.
Hmm.
Uh, establish as much as I could
Hmm.
about Dorothy herself and
Hmm.
and the demons that she's facing, knowing that I wanted to make sure she felt like a fully fleshed out three-dimensional character before
Hmm.
we dropped her in it back in Oz.
Because, you know, the other thing I love about, you know, just the first, before, we see Dorothy and then before,
Yeah,
she gets into Oz is I love how you slowly introduce everybody.
yeah,
Dorothy, the Tin, then towards the end you see the Tin Man, and then and then you see what happens to Toto, and it's not like yeah. So that's how I love. It's just a nice rollout, you
yeah,
know. It,
yeah. Excuse me.
Mhm.
No, I think that's the strength of the Wizard of Oz as a concept. Is Yeah, there's the magical mythology of it all,
Mhm.
the various locales, the obviously the iconography of the Emerald City and the Yellow Brick Road and the Silver Slippers. But I think the for me personally, the true strength of the Wizard of Oz is how archetypical the characters are.
Mhm.
You see, I mean, and the Warner Brothers movie really kind of helped solidify that in the cultural zeitgeist. But you think Wizard of Oz, you think of sort of that chorus line walk of
Mhm.
Dorothy, Scarecrow, and Tin Man, and the Lion and Toto walking down the Yellow Brick Road. It's almost like Carl Jung at that
Mhm.
point, so buried into, I think, the collective psyche. And so to me, the characters were always the landmarks,
Mhm.
that we wanted to kind of like roll out each of these characters sort of piecemeal, because Ruben Rojas, our amazing artist on
Yes.
his designs are so good
Yes.
that you really want to like drink that in, and you want every character to like kind of have a big moment.
Yes.
And so
Mhm.
that was sort of kind of the way that I wound up approaching it, was each of the characters were sort of the landmarks that the
Mhm.
story was built around. Because that, it's taken me years to kind of figure this out. And then it sort of tumbled out of my mouth during an interview last week. The OZ at its core, this theme of home being a place you can't go back to.
Mm.
For me, it's because what they're really talking about, it's the past. It's your
Mhm.
memories of the past. And ultimately, that means you often look at them through rose-colored glasses when the
Yes.
reality couldn't be any more stark. And that's the question, is sort of like, how do you navigate this memory that you can't get back to, and how
Mhm.
you sort of finally go for this future that seems to be perpetually out of reach. And so, yeah, I like the idea of sort of like, you see these characters and every character is kind of a question mark. You
Mhm.
see
Yes.
in Soldier, who, he's this guy who's like this hulking juggernaut of like scrap
Yeah.
metal. And you're like, well, what happened to him? And you realize, like,
Mhm.
oh, he's a guy who, like, he's witnessed so much bloodshed,
Mhm.
fighting for the resistance, that he's basically had to turn his own heart off. Or
Yeah.
you see the Prince of Lions, this sort of fantasy stealth character wearing this tribal mask, and you're like, what happened to the lion?
Mhm.
You realize that, oh no, that's his son.
Yes.
That the cowardly lion, was killed in the opening days of the war,
Mhm.
and his son has been like basically, wearing a mask, pretending that he's his dead father,
Mhm.
trying to keep the animal kingdom from splintering itself apart.
Mhm.
Or you see the scarecrow, who is like this sort of shell of himself,
Yeah.
where he's become this iron-fisted, tyrant of Oz because he's the guy who, if I only had a brain, he was the only one even remotely equipped to try to bring order to Oz. But he's all brain. He
Hmm.
doesn't have that, there's no compassion behind it. It's pure cold numbers. And I think there's at the same time like this sense of just boiling resentment underneath all of it, where he's turned Oz into a war machine,
Yes.
and everybody hates him,
Hmm.
and all it's done is sort of result in death and carnage, and at the same time he feels like it was all on his shoulders. And so,
Hmm.
the Scarecrow to me is one of my favorite villains I've ever written, because he's kind of got a point in
Hmm.
that he is trying his best, and he didn't his heel turn didn't come overnight, but it
Hmm.
was a product of a million failures and a million humiliations and a million compromises.
Hmm.
Now he is who he is, and he knows how far he's fallen, and he hates himself for it, but he hates everybody else more for putting him in this position. And yeah, and or Toto, where like Toto is so fun for me because you see him and he looks exactly like he did,
Yes.
and he starts to talk.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, whoa, there's so much more to this guy than we ever knew. It's sort of a nice reversal of the pantomimes that I do with a lot of the animal characters I do in my other books.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think kind of slowly sort of piecemealing out all of these characters issue to issue, that's been like really helpful for me, in terms of just like making sure everybody gets to know these people and really get to like wrap their head, make a real meal out of all of our characters.
That's so cool, David. That is so cool.
Thank you.
David, the thing that you mentioned I really love was that when you talked about the Tin Man and he's this literally this hulking machine that and again what I really love about your writing um is that you give these real life moments because I love it when um I believe it was Dorothy. She was saying, and this line captures the Tin Man. Like you said, he's changed. The Tin Man rebuilt himself. You know, all it cost him was his hard-won heart. You know, and it just basically in one line just tells me this: the price of war is too high.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just like, you know,
I'm really excited. We pay that off in a really fun way in our third and final issue. I'm not
okay,
going to tell anything beyond that, but
oh yeah,
the Tin Man, I think he really is, in a lot of ways. Dorothy's obviously our main character,
yes,
and she kind of has the emotional arc through the whole thing. But the Tin Man is really sort of, he's our showstopper.
yes,
He, I think, is the guy who, when you think of the OZ, you really think of that image of him in
hmm,
the cover. And so, he is kind of like the magic of the OZ, sort of wrapped up into one character,
hmm,
and he's got a really fun payoff to
hmm,
his arc, in this issue, that is going to leave him changed in a big way,
hmm,
um, but is sort of going to kind of like put his money where his mouth is, a little bit, in terms of, or actually I should say, not even putting his money where his mouth is, maybe sort of giving him a little bit of a reality check,
wow,
because I love those kinds of characters who
yes,
they try to be stoic, and they try to push everything down, and then
yeah.
when the chips are down, they got a bigger heart than anybody.
Hmm.
And I would say that that's the Tin Soldier in a nutshell. And we're gonna see kind of his heart come back in a really cool and I think satisfying.
I want to go back a little bit to the Scarecrow because
Yeah.
he's the one that's he's the villain of the story. When I was again rereading, I had to reread all this because I part of me was forgot what it was. I
Sure.
don't mean to be mean, but
No, not at all. It's been a minute. I totally get that.
yeah. So the thing was, what when I saw the Scarecrow, and I love how you said he had to compromise, and this is how he became who he had to become. It's that line from The Dark Knight. You know, it's either you die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. You know, I don't. You want to comment on that, or it's just
Yeah, no, I think yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, Like yeah, the Scarecrow, like he didn't start off a bad guy.
Yeah.
I think it's just sort of he he's the guy, and it's a lesson that I've learned a little bit in my career. I started off as a critic and then became a comics professional. And it's one of those things you can only sort of come up with so much theory
Hmm.
before rubber's got to meet the road. And then you realize real quick which theories worked and which or don't work for a
Hmm.
reason.
Yeah.
And so I do think that that's kind of the Scarecrow's arc. Like he's sort of the worst case scenario for me is that he was the critic turned pro,
Hmm.
and it has not worked out for him.
Hmm.
I don't think, he's one of those tyrants who, he feels like control is sort of the way to do things, and so
Hmm.
that he's got his grip pretty tight around
Yes.
Oz's throat. And like I said, I think he's been at it for so long. He's burned out. That's the other
Mm.
thing.
Okay.
And you see it
Yes.
in his physical frame is that he's been taking pieces of his own magical straw and using them to animate his straw man army. And you can tell that that's sort of like really done a number on him, both physically and mentally. Uh,
Hmm.
like he's a guy who like he sort of built his own prison. And I at the same time he's sort of like, well, he he has made so many compromises over the years that
Hmm.
he's like, all right, like sometimes to make an omelet you got to break eggs,
Hmm.
and sometimes you got to be willing to look like the bad guy.
Hmm. Yeah.
And he's this is sort of like it's a little bit of a tricky situation for him because Dor you know Dorothy Gale's granddaughter has returned,
Hmm.
and I think because she her grandmother sort of killed the Wicked Witches and
Hmm.
then left, everybody on Oz sees her as a war hero.
Hmm.
Everybody, like nobody blames her for what happened. They're just like, oh, Dorothy, she was, this legend. And so having her granddaughter come, this sort of this descendant of this like
Hmm.
legendary lineage, the Scarecrow is kind of, he's kind of in a little bit of a bind. And then he's like, oh, like there's finally a figurehead here who could threaten me. Uh,
Hmm.
and at the same time, they found the silver slippers, and
Hmm.
Glinda the Good Witch has sort of separated them. And the Scarecrow is kind of like, chaos
Hmm.
weirdly is also stability.
Hmm.
And so if I can sort of just keep kind of making Oz a war machine, Earth can be next.
Hmm.
And that's a lot of resources, that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of territory, so I can sort of give my base some red meat.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think he is kind of realizing like, oh, I'm running out of steam,
Hmm.
just Oz. But if he can open up the playing field a lot wider, that makes him a lot stronger.
Hmm.
It's definitely he's got plans within plans, and you're going to see what those plans are in this third issue. And at least one of them is going to turn this entire series on its head. So you're definitely going to want to check out the third issue because the Scarecrow has been playing the long game, and you're going to find out exactly what that is.
Oh, that's gonna be nice. Um, Couple questions.
Yeah,
I want to talk. We're not. I mean, we're not going to talk. I'm not going to ask for spoilers for this
sure,
final
sure, sure.
story arc. I'm not. One question I wanted to ask was because in the last interview that we did, The Devil Wears My Face, I remember. I think after we stopped recording, I remember bugging you about, hey, when is issue 3 coming out? And now my whole thing is how popular is this series? Like, have fans been coming up to you at
Oh
conventions
yeah.
or?
I really since the last Kickstarter ended, our fan base is so passionate and so patient with us.
Hmm.
They've been asking for a long time, like, when's the next issue going to come out? And I want to make something really, really clear because it would be so easy for people to think he did these two Kickstarters and then he got tapped at Marvel and he forgot all about us. And I
Hmm.
promise you that is not the case.
Yeah.
We've been hard at work on this Kickstarter really since the last one. I wrote the OZ for frame of reference. I started this book. It was one of the three books I started after. or I guess four books counting Spencer and Locke too. But it was one of the books I started immediately after
Mm-hmm.
the first volume of Spencer and Locke.
Mm-hmm.
I had actually originally developed this for a publisher, and we made it to the 1 yard line, and there was another fantasy series up against us with a
Mm-hmm.
more experienced creative team. They got tapped,
Mm-hmm.
but the editor who had championed that book, and he did me such a solid. He said, "Listen, I don't want you to give up on this. It's really good. I'm sorry it didn't work out here."
Mm-hmm.
The next week, I found Ruben Rojas. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I finished writing this book. I wrote the back half of it concurrently when I was writing Scout's Honor. So
Mm-hmm.
early days of COVID. So this has been written,
Mm-hmm.
fully written since before the first Kickstarter launched.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what happened was, it's so easy. I think, I do monthly comics, with publishers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easy to forget, myself included, that when you're doing the self-published thing, that there are human beings making these books who have real lives. And that's kind of what happened. That's why there was a gap between issues 2 and 3, is that life kind of just hit my artist, Ruben Rojas,
Yeah.
who was so talented. But he got married, he had a kid,
Mm-hmm.
he was in Spain during the worst of COVID, which really did a number on the economy over there. I believe there was something with either his parents or his spouse's parents, some parent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but with all that in mind, it took a little while. Like
Yeah.
the pages were kind of coming in drips. Even our second campaign, we kind of underestimated. Ruben had an idea of how long it would take for him to finish it, and
Mm-hmm.
it was going a little bit over. And so that experience, between that and then our printer got hit by a hurricane, so
Oh God.
it was a little later than I would have liked,
Yeah.
for the second campaign. And so I was thinking kind of long and hard about how to not repeat that
Mm-hmm.
process. Could have done the Kickstarter well in advance and not had a finished book, but I didn't think that would be right or fair to our
Yeah.
readers.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a conversation with Ruben kind of early on about it, just of like, what do you think your time frame is for all of this? And, frankly, he's dealing with all these things in his life on top of having a day job and raising a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing that I kind of came to terms with was, I wanted this third issue, this third and final issue, to be consistent. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted this series to kind of have a cohesive vision from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
And um, also, I owed it to Ruben. His designs are the heart and soul of the OZ.
Yes. Yeah.
And it would not have been right at all to have gone the distance with him for the first 2 issues and
Mm-hmm.
then give it to somebody else,
Yeah.
to
Mm-hmm.
CSL. I didn't think that would be right. I didn't think it would be right for me ethically. I didn't think it'd be right for the book creatively.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, listen, like, just get it done as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And he and I, we checked in kind of every other week,
Mm-hmm.
for a couple of years. But Ruben's been hard at work on this since the last campaign ended.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it took a little while for him to Shawshank his way through it, but we've had, fans asking all the time,
Yeah.
when's the OZ coming back? When's it coming back?
That's
And
nice.
my thinking was, I did not want to launch the campaign until we were done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we finished the artwork, I believe, is in the fall. Or it was in the summer, and then Whitney Kogar kind of finished the colors by the end of the year, and then I did my lettering pass on the artwork
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of this year, and then Dave Hopkins turned that in fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
So his lettering, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a long time to get there, but it's not that the book wasn't written.
Mm-hmm.
Ruben's had the script since the last campaign. It took a little while
Yeah.
for him to get there, but I will say the artwork looks so good
Mm-hmm.
that kind of like I feel like it was worth the wait. I
Yes.
ultimately, my thinking is, people who are going to revisit this series, I imagine they're going to read issues 1 and 2 to
Mm-hmm.
refresher. And so when they read all 3 of it in one shot, I think this book's going to hit like a truck.
Mm-hmm.
And it does me a lot of good, knowing that we had the same team from beginning to end. So this thing feels coherent and consistent,
Mm-hmm.
and it's true to our vision from the start.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kickstarter is a little bit of a different animal than the direct market, and the readers are a little bit of a different beast.
Mm-hmm.
They are patient. They're not expecting a monthly product.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they are also passionate. They're willing to pay, frankly, artisanal prices for an artisanal product
Mm-hmm.
directly from the creators.
Yes.
And that's something I really wanted to honor. And so, yeah, this campaign, the great news with all this is that now you're not going to have to wait at all.
Hmm.
The whole series is done.
Hmm.
Uh, and not only that, we're working with our printers again at Comic Impressions. They
Hmm.
do the printing on the first two issues, so they know how the OZ is supposed to look.
Hmm.
And last but not least, and this is something I'm really thrilled about as somebody who's writing for comics and has a baby on the way, is that we've teamed up with the amazing crew at Laguna Studios to handle all the fulfillment.
Oh,
And
good.
so that
Yes.
means that you guys, I won't be a bottleneck, I swear.
Hmm.
Uh, we've structured the whole campaign to be as simple as possible.
Hmm.
But all we need from our backers is their mailing address.
Hmm.
And once we have the firm, we'll have all the numbers already done by the
Hmm.
time that the campaign wraps. As soon as Kickstarter disperses the funds, which I believe is 2 to 3 weeks after the campaign, we can then immediately go to Comic Impressions and say, this is the print number that we need.
Hmm.
They have everything done. And I believe they said 2 to 4, or they said 3 to 4 weeks, I believe.
Hmm.
And then Laguna Studios, once the books arrive at their place, they've estimated that they only need 2 to 3 weeks for shipping to get everything out. And so we have on our campaign, we're saying a December deadline,
Hmm.
just to make sure everybody gets their books by the
Yeah,
holiday.
just yeah.
But I anticipate as long as our printer's not hit with another hurricane,
Yeah. Hmm.
I anticipate people are going to get their books significantly earlier.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so, yeah, like it's one of those things. This campaign, I know that fans of the OZ have been very patient. They've
Hmm.
waited a long time for this last issue. I'm not making them wait a second longer.
Hmm.
Uh, so, yeah, when you back this, as soon as we fund, you're gonna know you're getting your books, you're getting everything
Yes.
that you paid for,
Hmm.
and you get it fast.
Hmm.
Uh, so definitely, you should feel free to back the campaign, knowing that there are no risks involved.
Yes. All right. David, first off, let me just say, because I know you posted it, I believe, on Twitter. Can't remember if you posted on Blue Sky, but I have to tell you congratulations because you're going to be a new dad
I
soon, and
am. I
you're
am.
very
I'm recording this in my daughter's nursery, actually. Yes, and so that's kind of a fun thing that's going to be happening, sort of in the immediate aftermath of the Kickstarter. My daughter is due anywhere from days to weeks
Mhm.
after the campaign wraps, and yeah, it's kind of nice. Like it certainly is sort of given me new perspective already in
Mhm.
terms of the way that I approach certain books, particularly Space Ghost.
Mhm.
But yeah, it gives me a nice dose of perspective on terms of comics. I love comics. I live
Yes.
and breathe and eat and sleep these things. And in a lot of ways, I see the work that I put out as my legacy. And
Mhm.
that's the reason why I'm so exacting about what I do. And sometimes my creative partners want to wring my neck until they see what comes out.
Mhm. Yes.
But this is sort of a legacy in a different kind of way. And
Yes.
it's something that I'm really excited to see how this journey into fatherhood sort of, rewires my brain a little bit and
Mhm.
changes my perspective on things and helps me kind of get further perspective and a deeper perspective and shows itself in unexpected ways in my work. And so, yeah, like I love the idea of someday my kids, reading my books,
Ah, it's gonna be the
and hopefully liking them okay, uh,
best.
that's going to be a really fun experience. It's one that is kind of difficult for me to imagine at this point, but ask me again in a few years, and I think I'm going to have some fun stories to tell.
Okay, all right. Um, I'm not going to talk to you about reward tiers because you've already explained it that, already is like, oh my God, I can't believe that it's
Well,
gonna
what I can say is,
okay.
in addition to having all of my books available
Yes.
as add-ons, and also if you missed the previous two campaigns, we have catch-up tiers for you. We
Uh,
have it print and digital, or if you did one campaign and missed the other, you can
mhm.
get any of the issues a la carte.
Yeah.
But on top of that, we've got some really fun stretch goals planned for this campaign.
Hmm.
We've got some enhancements to the book that I can't share yet, but
Yeah.
is gonna really kind of like you're gonna get your money's worth. So that's we've got goals for that.
Hmm.
We've got a pardon me, we've got an exclusive bookmark from Ruben Mocho that is going to be a stretch goal. We've got
Hmm.
enamel pins. We've got our
Hmm.
monkey pin and our courage badge pin. We might even have a third one in the
Hmm.
works. We've got my favorite of the stretch goals. In lieu of doing a print this campaign, we've got a fully illustrated map of the occupied zone
Oh.
by artist Kenneth Wagnon, who did one of our variants for issue one. That's been sort of I've been keeping that in my back pocket for a rainy day, and this is
Hmm.
we've got a brand new closing credits song for the OZ by my good
Awesome.
friend George Marston, who recorded Heart of Tin for us in our first campaign. We're talking about, we might even have like a little mini EP for the OZ tapes. Lots of fun stuff in the works. I will say that, the last two campaigns, we did do a secret fifth cover as a stretch goal. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that might
Hmm.
materialize down the line. Yeah. And if you're a collector, I should add, speaking of all that, we've got four variant covers
Hmm.
for the series. We've got Ruben Rojas doing our main cover, Mon House returning to do his third cover for us for this. Joshua Hood is doing an amazing Carlos Pacheco X-Men homage for us. And Serge Acuna from Nightwing and the Flash is
Hmm.
also an amazing cover for us. And so if you can get all four covers at a discount. If you're a collector who's missed the previous campaigns, we also have a tier where you can get all 14 covers at a discount.
Wow.
So I overprinted every cover
Hmm.
specifically for this campaign,
Hmm.
in that I knew there were going to be people who missed us along the way, and I've been
Hmm.
so lucky that I've had so many more eyes on my work since the last
Hmm.
game. So the OZ is perfect for newcomers and returning fans alike.
Hmm.
We have tiers for every price point and every level of involvement.
Yes.
You can't go wrong. But I will say, if you're curious about any of my other work, like I said, you can add anything and everything. Because yeah, diapers don't come cheap, and I am willing to looking to get some books off my hands so I can cover my daughter's butt. So definitely, back early, back often. Share with your friends. You want to have as many members of our Emerald Army join us as possible.
That's so cool. I'm gonna slowly start wrapping things up. Four
Ah,
more questions. What was the fun, um, or one of the things that you love working on this series? You know.
mm. The thing I've loved working most on the series, honestly, it's seeing it all come together.
Mhm.
Like and it's trusting in my team. I agonized about who was going to kind of be on this book. Ruben was an easy choice. I saw
Mhm.
his work on Twitter years ago, and I was just like, yeah, that's the guy. That guy is
Mhm.
awesome, and I love working with him. It took a little bit to find Whitney Kogar, but she just nailed it. She is so
Yes.
good. Yes.
Yes.
Um, and Dave Hopkins came very highly recommended and has been really just a team player for everything.
Mhm.
Um, but I think there are certain books, and this one I think is certainly one of them, where we really are more than the sum of our parts. And you see, once you see like, oh, the colors on Ruben's line art, or once you see the dialogue on top, you're like, oh, this story really hit.
Mhm.
And that's another thing that our backers are going to get, I should add, is we've got digital behind the scenes materials. So you'll get the scripts, uh,
Mhm.
you will get the raw inks, you will get
Mhm.
the colors. We'll offer that all digitally, so you can see kind of the evolution of how this book came together if you're a
Mhm.
process junkie. So yeah, that's gonna be kind of fun. And I know in the past I've done like director's commentary
Mhm.
tracks. Maybe I'll do that again for this one. It's definitely yeah, like this book really has been a leap of faith, more than anything I've ever done. Even I think it rivals even spent the first Spencer and Locke, which was sort
Mhm.
of my foray into the industry, in that I didn't have a publisher on this
Mhm.
one. I rolled the dice on Kickstarter. I self-published this thing. I believed in
Mhm.
it so much. I self-financed it. I believed in it
Mhm.
so much. And the amazing response to it. Like we won a Ringo Award off this book.
Yes.
I, Full disclosure, I funded my daughter's IVF with this
Mhm.
kick.
Hmm.
This book, helped get me on Marvel's radar. I got my
Yes.
little puppy Ruby and named her specifically
Yes.
for this book. My little Cairn Terrier Toto dog. This book has changed my life.
Hmm.
And that's why like I've never given up on it, even
Hmm.
when it felt like it was slow going,
Hmm.
even when I was chomping at the bit to get the thing out the door.
Hmm.
Um, I've never lost faith in this book, and it
Hmm.
really, I think, is some of my best work. I can't wait for readers to get to check it out because
Yes.
I'm so proud of it. And um, yeah, it's just going to be such a fun trip. Even when I was working in the lettering pass, it felt like a look back on my youth. Uh,
Hmm.
when I was a younger, scrappier writer
Hmm.
who had no idea if he had a future in this business, had no idea if he even knew what he was doing.
Hmm.
Just, a guy with a lot of theories and nowhere else left to go. And
Hmm.
I was like, oh, I guess I better, try this. And it's been an amazing career. But the OZ is sort of where I had to really put my money where my mouth is. It's a leap of faith, but it really has been a leap of faith rewarded. And so um, I feel, a sense of affection for that younger creator who started this, who gave me such a gift.
Hmm.
And so it's really been kind of like, a fun and validating experience as a more seasoned, experienced, and established creator,
Yes.
to
Hmm.
finally bring this book home. And
Hmm.
I've changed a bit since
Hmm.
I started this book. The world has changed a bit,
Yes. Yeah.
but I think the themes of the OZ remain surprisingly resonant from beginning to end.
Yes.
And this is a book that I think this is a story that's going to be an evergreen one for a very long time.
Hmm. I agree with that. I do, David. You know.
Thank
Um, Two more questions.
you.
What's your convention schedule? I know you
Yeah,
have a daughter coming. You're
my convention
expecting
schedule
some.
is a little off this year because currently my daughters do the first day of San Diego Comic-Con, so I'm
Mhm.
going to be hosting a smaller, much more intimate convention in my local hospital delivery room. Um, I right now my next convention, I just got back from Denver. I'm scheduled to do New York Comic Con in October.
Okay, yeah.
I love that show, and since I'm missing San Diego, I want to make sure I hit that.
Hmm.
And then we're in conversation as far as Los Angeles Comic Con and Long
Hmm.
Beach Comic Con, which are local to me.
Or
Uh,
closer, yeah.
it is going to depend on what this kid is like and if she
Yes.
takes after my wife or if she takes after me.
Hmm.
So. I would like to do at least one of those shows.
Hmm.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
As soon as I sort of know the lay of the land personally a little bit better, we'll be pulling the trigger one way or the other.
Hmm.
Yes, definitely find me at New York Comic Con and hopefully one of the California shows.
Okay. Any closing words to our listeners?
Yeah, listen, if you're curious about the OZ, definitely check us out at tinyurl.com/the OZ comic. Like I said, if you've missed our previous two campaigns, it's no problem. We've got catch-up tiers for you to get all three issues.
Hmm.
This is, like I said, a beginning, middle, and end.
Yes.
And also, if you're curious about the campaign, backing us in the first 48 hours is super important. It helps
Hmm.
bump us up in Kickstarter's algorithm. And to incentivize people to do that, we are offering some early bird discounts in the first 48 hours.
Oh,
So you can
nice.
get the books even cheaper
Hmm.
what we're offering.
Hmm.
It is a double-sized issue, like all of our issues. So we promise you're getting your money's worth. We're also including PDFs of Spencer and Locke can go into the chapel with every pledge. So you're going
Hmm.
to really, and also we are already sort of putting together a creator grab bag as a stretch goal. So that way, when you get, when the campaign funds, you're going to not just get the OZ, but you're going to get like a ton of other comics as well.
Hmm.
You are really going to get your money's worth on this one. So yeah, and beyond that, just spreading the word,
Hmm.
sharing the good word about the OZ is always helpful. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your worst enemy. Every backer counts, and that's the thing I love most about Kickstarter is there's that sense of intimacy with your readership. I
Hmm.
every night of the last two campaigns, I would spend some time writing thank you notes to every single person who backed us that day.
Hmm.
And that's an experience that's so validating that you don't get anywhere else in
Hmm.
comics. I don't know everybody who's read Space Ghost or Savage Avengers, but I've talked to every single person who's backed us on the OZ. So definitely check us out,
Hmm.
and like I said, add as many books as you'd like.
Hmm.
Uh, we will get books to you. I've got a pretty decent war chest of all my material,
Hmm.
so we will have books in your hands as soon as we can.
Oh, that's so nice. David, mahalo. Thank you in Hawaiian. Thank you for giving me another opportunity to interview you. David, I'm going to say this, and you've seen me post this often, almost every year, close to Free Comic Book Day, but I just want to personally thank you for making comics, you know.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for spreading the word. I mean, I every day I don't take it for granted that like you can't make comics in a vacuum.
Mhm.
Not only just in terms of like your creative team, but also like I'm fully aware that I've had like just a whole village of readers and retailers and press and editors who and fellow creators who have championed my career every step, and that just means the world to me.
Mhm.
And so I'm very grateful. I won't take it for granted.
Mhm.
This really what inspires me to get up and deliver my A game every day. So thank you for being one of those people who's helped give me kind of my dream job and my dream life. Thank you for all that.
No, just David, just thank you. And I wish you all the success with this campaign. Now, listeners, if you are a new comic book reader or a lifelong comic book reader, please check out the OZ Kickstarter. Now, the campaign starts on June 8th. As David mentioned, the first 48 hours or the kind of
That
like
first 3 hours. Yep.
an early bird special. Check the first 2 days for those early bird specials. You know, if you like reimagined fairy tales, stories, this story is for you, and I love it. What I love about, David's this story that David has written is it's not only that there's action, but and there's amazing building, but what I love about this is that the story has heart. You know, David also adds in like real life moments, um it's very I don't know how else to describe it because I don't want to give stuff away, but David, I that's what I love about your writing is
Thank
that
you.
it's because I keep thinking uh um well, I'll give one for example. It's like such as the Tin Man and Dorothy bonding, you know and Tin Man understanding Dorothy's situation, you know understanding each other as soldiers after a botched mission. I think you know where which one I don't want to spoil it, but it's because the Tin Man could have gone, no, you need this, or no, Dorothy, you can. No, it's just,
Yeah.
hey, I understand where you're coming from, and
Uh,
that's the real world. You know, that's the thing. What I love about this.
Thank you.
So now, also to David, I forgot to mention this to you. I'm definitely backing this campaign, and I'm definitely getting a copy for Drew. So Drew, if you're listening, yes, you're getting a copy. And also to again, listeners, if you guys can afford to pick up an extra copy and share it and give it to your friend. It's like when we were kids. We used to share comics. Just consider doing that. Um, I want to thank Drew, the host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit. New episodes comes out every Saturday. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys. Aloha.
Welcome to the O's. Tornado spinning, black sky turning, memories burning in the back of a mind. Combat boots on a yellow road shattered, nothing left of the world she left behind. Scarecrows marching with a field of fire, tin soldiers got an iron fist. Prince of Lions wants a kingdom rising, everybody's got a name on the list. Run, run! present collide tonight.